Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
That's Praying Mantis right here on your Classic Metal Show. That's one of their older tunes called Running for Tomorrow from the Time Tells No Lies release. And Chris, believe it or not, Praying Mantis has been around for, over 30 years.
I know, it's amazing.
And, these guys are back. They have a new CD just called Sanctuary. Mm-hmm. Not the band Sanctuary, but the CD title Sanctuary. And we want to welcome one of the founding members of the band Praying Mantis to the Classic Metal Show. We want to welcome bass player Chris Troy. Well, welcome to the Classic Metal Show there, Chris.
Hi there. Nice to be with you.
Excellent, Chris. Well, Chris, you guys, Praying Mantis that is, have had a long history. You've had your ups and downs. You've survived breakups and returns and, so on and so forth. But now you're back stronger than ever with a new release just called Sanctuary.
I think, as you put there, I mean, we have been through thick and thin. There's no doubt about it. But, there's always been that core, I suppose, my brother and myself. We couldn't really split up that element of it. We've had lots and lots of members. Maybe it sounds as though we're some sort of bastards to work for, but we're not. It's just the way things have gone. But I think in that 34 years, whatever it is, I think we've had probably about the same number of members. I think it's about another 33 or 34 members in that time. And people must actually think, we're horrible to work for, but that's not the case at all. It's just the way life has sort of treated us, I suppose, as the main. People have gone their own way, done other things, but at the core of it, my brother and myself are still here. And, this particular album, I just think it's... Well, we started, seeing it in the writing of the songs. We thought that there's some good stuff here. We actually went to Marietta in Atlanta to do most of the recording and the mixing. We came back to UK and we thought, this is it. This is probably one of I personally think the strongest thing we've ever done. I'm glad, we're quite excited about it. It's getting some great reviews in the UK, Europe, and hopefully, maybe in the States as well. We'll see now.
Right. Well, Chris, obviously, man, your history goes way, way, way back to like the mid '70s, and Praying Mantis was always lumped in with the new wave of British heavy metal movement, along with bands like Iron Maiden or Def Leppard or what have you that came over, Saxon or whatever. But really, For people that don't know, Praying Mantis really wasn't that kind of a band at all. I mean, my own personal vibe of what you guys were and now are again with Sanctuary is that you guys were much more influenced by like a Thin Lizzy than you would have been an Iron Maiden. Is that pretty accurate?
I think that's very accurate. I think when we go back, I think if we thought who were, the influences, I think that there was Thin Lizzy and there was a band called Wishbone Ash. I'm not sure if you knew Wishbone Ash. They were quite a big English band, but very much on the twin guitars as well. And those two bands very much were our influences, and I do agree. I mean, we were pushed into that band, that new wave of British heavy metal band, that movement. And I actually think it did help us in as much as it was some category to belong into, and it was moving along. So we did make movement in there. But I think sometimes when people did come to our shows, they probably thought, do we belong as part of this particular, new wave of British heavy metal? And maybe some people didn't think we did. But I think it's a very accurate description, and well done on yourself.
Sure. Now, when when you think about it, I mean, you said that sometimes it was helpful, other times it wasn't. I mean, if you look at the overall career of the band, do you think that you were more helped or less helped by that fact, though? Meaning, do you think that people at first bought Praying Mantis albums because they liked, the first Iron Maiden record, and they said, oh, same collection of bands, let me buy this, and then people might have been disappointed?
It's possible. I think that is possible. I mean, if you go to a real death metal show, and maybe we were on there, and people would think, what is this? It doesn't belong and part of it. So yeah, I suppose that's possibly taking it to an extreme, but I think to a degree that is correct. In certain ways it helped in as much as it got the name around, and the name has been sort of relatively well thrown around the world for many years. So it certainly did something. But as far as UK was concerned, I think we were pushed into that category, and it could have worked against us. It's always hard to know. I don't think we'll ever totally really know the answer to that.
Sure. Now, as you move forward to today, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but listening to the album today and then comparing it to stuff like Time Tells No Lies, it almost seems like a very natural progression. I mean, the only major difference that I hear, as a layman on the outside is, you guys have been able to capture a much better production because, obviously things have progressed in 35, 40 years since the beginning. When you listen to it, or especially when you guys were writing it, were you trying to write something that sounded like the history, or were you just writing and this is kind of just where you guys are and have always been?
I think it is that. I mean, I've never personally been influenced with what we're supposed to sound like. I mean, at the end of the day, that's one of the best things about music. It gives you the opportunity to actually put together what you can do, and it's pointless, trying to restructure your face if you're not happy with it. That is the inherent thing. That's what you've been born with. Myself and Tina, we write in a particular style, and I think if we try to change that style, it would sound false. We can only really do best what we feel is coming from the heart. And as you say, I think that it's innate, that type of sort of music element, that type of sort of music writing, and consequently you'll probably hear that similarity to that album 34 years ago. So I don't think it has changed that much, as you say, but the production hopefully is about 5-6 times better.
Well, Chris, I got to ask, since Praying Mantis has been around since 74, and you guys have a 35-year history, although it hasn't been a consistent thing. What does a guy like Chris Troy do outside of Praying Mantis? I mean, I'm sure you're not making a tremendous living off the band. What do you do on for a real income?
Well, a lot of it is to do with music, partially writing for other bands, etc. Different music, writing, even doing some production elements. By trade, I am an engineer, so part of it I sometimes do some contract work as well as an environmental engineer. So it's there's quite a varied sort of taste there, but the majority of it is in music, and 34, 35 years of it, it's difficult to sort of switch off from it. It is my life, and hopefully it'll continue for a number of years yet.
Sure, that's understandable. I've spoken with numerous of your contemporaries over the years, Andy Parker, drummer for UFO, and several other people, and a lot of them I often find surprising as to what they're involved with outside of music, because everybody knows the music business, especially this style of music, is not the most popular, and it's it's tough to make ends meet. So guys do all kinds of other things, from running a family business to roofing houses to fixing automobiles, but yet they find time in their life and their schedule to sit and write new music and record and sometimes get out and do some performing. So very cool. Now,
it is. I mean, yeah, because at one point, but luckily when I moved down to the country, we had a garage downstairs which wasn't being used. Just had it really as a sort of rubbish hut, really. And a couple of years ago, we converted it into a recording studio. So now, when we do have ideas for writing, we just go down and put it downstairs. Even other people, if they have ideas, I let them use the studio, and there's a little bit of an income from that.
Sure.
So it's obviously, as you say, it's difficult. You do need to make ends meet, and you need to do whatever is necessary to achieve that, really.
Unless, of course, you have a rich wife or a girlfriend that supports your music, huh?
Oh, exactly. I'll have to get one. I haven't got. I've been searching, but I haven't found one yet.
Neither have I, Chris. Neither have I.
I'm hoping she's not listening outside.
Well, Chris, what's on the horizon for Praying Mantis now that you have this new CD just called Sanctuary? You guys going to be able to play some shows or be part of any of those festivals that often go over in the European market, or any plans at all?
Oh yes, like I say, for this particular one now, I think because of the belief in it, I think we're, Tina and myself, and we're getting far more behind it. We've got that confidence back, and we're really raring to go. Japan has obviously been kind to us for many years. We're going back there in November, doing a few shows over there, so hopefully that's going to be quite exciting. And there's many sort of irons in the fire now. They're all beginning to start coming in, and the various reviews we've had for the album has been so positive. Now people at last, they're beginning to come to us and say, our Mantis is going to do this show. So and America is beginning to sort of raise its head as well. So hopefully at last, we will. I don't think it will be this year. I don't think it'll be 2009, but certainly by February, March next year in the States, we will be over.
Sure. Now, Chris, as an Englishman, I have to ask you, man, why is it that everybody, both in your country and then I guess throughout most of the world, why is it that everybody fawns so much over that queen and that royal family? Do they really have that much relevance over there?
No, not really. It's a good question. At one point I used to think, who the hell are they? They're lording all of this, we spend so much money on them and everything. What do they really do? But funny enough, as I've got older, I've thought, well, maybe it does represent something. I personally think this country's in a bit of a state, and there's a lot of dilution of the race as it stands, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it is good to keep that, because at least it's one thing that's being preserved and it's not being diluted, where everything else, on that national element seems to be. So now I've actually swapped my view, and I'm thinking, yeah, I do quite like them. So I've become a royalist.
Excellent.
Slightly.
Excellent, Chris. Well, is there anything about this new CD, Sanctuary, that you want the fans to know that we haven't touched on here? Anything, elements about it that stand out for you that you want to point out?
I think the main thing is that there's some really hard-hitting lyrics, I think, in there, because I think a lot of the time the music is what we try to do is put some really powerful melodies in there, and the lyrics have to go hand in hand with that. I don't think I've ever written a sort of love song as such. It's things like In Time. There was a young girl, a British girl, you may have heard about it. It was called Madeleine McCann, and she went missing. She went to Portugal. Her parents left her for a little bit. So they went to a restaurant, thought she was asleep, came back, and she was kidnapped. And 5 years old, I think she was. And it was just a perspective of how those parents were going to live, without that 5-year-old child for the rest of their life, for just going out to a restaurant. There's lots of lyrics like that, and it's a lot deeper. I think what I'd like to do for the listener is to listen to the songs first, or get the gist of the songs, then start listening to the lyrics, and I think you then enjoy the songs a lot more, when you actually understand what the whole meaning is about. I hate these things that, chuck away. There's a lot of sort of real life situations there. And hopefully when people understand that, they'll enjoy the song that much more.
Sure. Well, Chris, are you familiar with the Canadian band Anvil, and are you familiar with the documentary that was recently released to them?
Yes, I am. Good luck to them. I thought after all these years, bloody full on, it's I'm happy for them. I'm happy that, they've stuck at it, and it's really beginning to go for them now, isn't it?
Now, do you relate to their plight as a band who's been trying to make it for years and years and years, but they just never seem to catch that break? And now that these guys are in their 50s, they're still plugging away at it, hoping for some kind of, national or even worldwide success. Do you relate to their plight as a band?
Oh, very much so. I mean, it's at the end of the day, I think like you hit on before, it's not. You can plug away at it. You'll start reaching a point where you're on stage with your Zimmer frames and your walking sticks, and you think, well, maybe it's about time to give up now. But the thing is, it is a tough business out there, and it's becoming tougher. There's a lot less money. People are buying less CDs. There's a lot of free downloads. So there's nothing really propping up the music industry from the bottom, and that's a problem. And where you touched on before about all these people that you've spoken have all got to, the roofers and the mechanics. That's what's supporting the music, because the bloody thing, there's no other money coming into it, and unfortunately, that's the plight, isn't it? Unless something miraculously happens to us, even if it really started selling well, it still needs to sort of, I think, get other means of, living, because I can't see it coming purely from music. But you never know. We're still plugging away, and I'm sure. I've actually got a really good feeling about this one, and I actually think Mantis will really start growing this year. I may be wrong, but let's live in hope. We live once.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. I just have one more there for you, Chris. Some of your contemporaries, the band Heaven and Hell, which obviously is Black Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio. What do you think of the success that they've had in the last 3 years since they regrouped and been touring the world and released a new CD and a box set and, selling out arenas and, being part of the big festivals, headlining the festivals, etc.? Is that surprising to you in this day and age?
For that age, I mean, it's a good point. It's quite a good one to key into, because I'm not sure how old Dio is, but he must be getting up there now, isn't he?
I believe he's 70.
70. Wow, we got hokey out then, haven't we? I've got another 20 years on that. So it's 20 years of still plugging away at it.
Sure.
But I think it's superb. I mean, the guy always had a great voice. I remember him in Rainbow, I think it was Rainbow Rising, and at the time I thought, wow, it just makes that song. And all right, Sabbath have always been, from my early days, Sabbath have been huge. So in a way, I didn't think they were never that small. They never really went away that much. But as you say now, that combination has just elevated them to a huge level. And to a degree, it's the same with Maiden. They're always like around that middle bit, and now they seem to have gone up another notch. So I don't know if the rock scene is beginning to go through some sort of resurgence. And let's face it, there's some crap music out there, other music styles. So maybe people are beginning to realise they're coming back to rock.
We can only hope that, but I can tell you, Chris, here in the U.S., Iron Maiden doesn't get much radio airplay anyplace, but it seems like every time they play an arena, it's sold out here, 20,000 seaters. Wow.
Yes, but they don't get much radio play. No, it's funny. I actually personally, because we grew up with them. I think we supported them about 130 times, various shows around the UK, and At one point, I think we were going down. We were the support band, but we were going down as well as them. And the management, they noticed that. I mean, they nicked our sound guy. They wanted to take our drummer. There was various things. Sometimes they sabotaged our sound. But it's the way that the thing works. And unfortunately, they went to another level. But a lot of it was the gimmick of it. The Eddie, the monster and everything. It was more of a the sort of showpiece as opposed to the music I think that they were playing. They're okay. I think they're a pretty good band. I think they're good musicians, and Bruce is a great singer. But sometimes you listen to other bands out there and you think, they're far better than Maiden. But hey, you can't take away from Maiden. They've been plugging away for as long as we have, but they've been at the top for a long part of that. So good on them.
Right now, you mentioned there that they kind of made a play for your drummer and for your sound guy. Looking back now, don't you wish they would have made a play for your bass player?
Well, I don't think that would ever have occurred because really, Iron Maiden were. I mean, it was Steve Harris. It was his brainchild. It was his baby, and it was really, I think, him and Rod Smallwood, the manager, that had this vision. And they kept to it. And at that time, they were swapping members left, right, and centre. Although we've gone through a lot of members, it was the frequency of change that Maiden were going through because they were trying to find that sort of magic ingredient, that magic formula. I would have loved to have taken his place, but our drummer was pretty good at that time, and I remember he came into a dressing room one day and he said, "Cheeky buggers," he said, "Rod Small was just coming in." He said to me, "Dave, do you want the Maiden gig?" He said, "Maiden are going to go somewhere." He says, if Mantis goes, it's going to take a lot longer than Maiden, so join the bandwagon now. It's going to be a good ride." And Dave said, "No." He said, "I believe in what Mantis do. I think they're a better band. I think they've got better songs." And he said, "I'm going to stick by them." More for him.
Right. Well, let me ask you one more here, Chris. What do you think of Ozzy Osbourne these days? Are you a little bit saddened that he's traded the Prince of Darkness mantle for the Prince of Buffoonery?
Well, yes, I think he always was a bit like that, though. I think now it's just become he's come out of his sort of shell, and he's just this, really portraying, I think, the person he really is, unfortunately. I think he's okay, but again, I think he's ridden a very, very lucky star throughout his life, and maybe now he's becoming a little bit unstuck. He's had a good ride, though. He definitely has a good ride.
Sure he has. All right, Chris. Well, we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us here on the Classic Metal Show. Go pick up the new CD from Praying Mantis called Sanctuary. And Chris, before I let you go, we need to ask you the traditional Classic Metal Show question. And being that you're a bassist, I'm sure you'll appreciate this question. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Zilch. I actually know Lemmy. It's funny because he used to come down a club where we used to always go after gigs, and he'd come in with a sort of po-face. He'd go to this fruit machine, and no joke, he wouldn't speak to anybody all day, all night. He would just go to this fruit machine, spend about 3 or 4 hours on it. The old fruit machines, and then he would disappear. And he's again another one that's had a pretty lucky ride. Let's face it.
All right, Chris. Well, once again, the new Praying Mantis release is just called Sanctuary. And Chris, I'm going to let you pick a song from the new release and maybe tell us a story about it.
Okay, I like one of mine favorites is Playing God. Again, it's a friend of a very close friend. It's a friend actually of my stepson. He was coming back from a party New Year's Eve. He was driving with his best mates, and great kid. And they just careered off the road, and one of the kids died. And then the other boy, it was his best mate, he said, this is, this shouldn't be, this is horrible. What the hell has happened here? And he's gone into the road and he's literally tried to commit suicide, literally standing in front of a lorry. And then he did survive, but he just literally wanted the whole thing to turn around. He was playing God at that specific point in time. But he was a great kid. It's a shame that, almost lost both of them. But it's just dedicated to those two kids. But it's a heavy song again, heavy lyrics. But as I say, that's the way I'll write them.
All right, well, here it is. This is a brand new Praying Mantis right here on your Classic Metal Show. Thanks for checking out the best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
The Classic Metal Show.